She squeezed Johnny's limp hand. I killed him. Every warrior from the Western House who came knew what he was getting into. They fought for their honor and freedom. They died protecting the Kavati way. Don't take that away from them. She gave a hopeless little laugh. When did blackmail become the Kavati way? Hey. Kai pulled her to standing and pinned her with his Thunderbird gaze. The violet bands around his black irises that marked him as a Kavati shapeshifter expanded. You're all right, little warrior. His broad frame blocked out the sight of the hill, and his fingers sent trills of ether to lick around her skin. She heard nothing but the soft wind and his voice until her pulse slowed. Shock is normal. This is your first battle, and you did your people proud. He wrapped his leather jacket around her, and she clutched it to her chest. Tall, muscled, and imposing, like all the Thunderbirds, Lord Kai had been the only one who would risk the Raven Lord's wrath to come here. He might lead one of the 4 Kavati houses, but he wasn't decent. No tailored suit could mask all that wildness. His hair was a mane of black curls, and a bandolier hung desperado style across his chest. He did forbidden things just to prove he wasn't anyone's pawn, including sleeping with one of their sworn enemies, the Drakkar Astrid Setien. But if the Raven Lord, Emory Corbette, found out about Setien, he would probably kill Kai, so it had been easy for Lucia, once she'd known his secret, to blackmail Kai into risking his men in battle fighting Kingu. There was honor in dying for the Kavati. There was none in being killed for fucking a soul-sucker. Lucia knelt by Johnny, closed his eyes, and said a prayer to the lady to guide him home. He didn't get much of a reprieve. 7 months can seem like a lifetime to a man with a second chance. Corbette was merciful. Only for you. She glanced across Lake Union, to where dusk backlit the ruined towers of downtown Seattle. The battle had taken place at the gasworks, an old coal gasification plant that jutted out into the lake with an excellent view of Queen Anne Hill to the southwest. She could just see the yellow walls of the palatial Kavati Hall at the top of the hill hunkering down against the night. Crows from all over the city streaked the sky black as they returned to roost on the parapets and the surrounding hilltop trees. You better pray he'll be merciful again, she told Kai. You got balls of steel, Crane. Kai loomed over her. He leaned down, his velvet voice a seductive purr only loud enough for her to hear. But I'm not going to be the one on my knees. You'll use every trick, and I mean every, to deflect Corbette from the truth. You better not wuss out on me when the big bad turns his screws in your sweet little fingers. You take my secret to your grave. She swallowed. Would Corbette hurt his fiancé, the prophesied Crane who was supposed to lead their people out of the darkness? She'd just undermined his rule by leading his warriors to battle against his orders. He couldn't afford to be merciful. She felt the ether, the shining water that filled the space between molecules of air and earth, wove the fabric of time and built the gates, heat. Kai squeezed her arm as he flashed her a look beneath thick lashes. Loose lips. Got it. She straightened her spine and pulled the leather jacket around her shoulders like a shield. The jacket was permeated with the warmth of Kai's body and the calming scent of fur. She lifted her chin as Kavati shapeshifters in their totem form shot into the air above Kavati Hall and flew toward Kite Hill. The 2 Thunderbirds were magnificent. Giant birds with silvery wings the size of a pterodactyl, they ate whales and could pull fiery thunderbolts from the ether with a twitch of their fingers. A reverent hush floated across the field as men caught sight of the 2 beautiful creatures. Behind them flew a dozen man-sized crows with their majestic midnight wings and cruel beaks. But Lucia couldn't tear her eyes away from the true danger, the raven. Awesome, terrible. Ether crackled over his feathers and pulsed out to warp the air around her. She watched his approach as if it were a steam train barreling down on her. He landed on the hillside, and torchlight glistened off his ebony feathers as he changed. Ether shimmered over him like a blanket being shrugged off, and when it slipped away, a man stood in the giant raven's place. Terrifyingly handsome, like a crack of lightning hurled from the sky god's staff, he was dark and brooding and altogether arrogant. The Thunderbirds had a height and muscle advantage on him, but every inch of his frame was sleek power. Everything about him was sharp. Pitiless black eyes ringed by a violet band, a hooked nose, a severe line of a mouth. He was dark everywhere she was light, with skin the color of driftwood and hair blacker than coal. He'd pulled his clothing from the ether when he'd changed, his usual 3-piece perfection of a midnight suit.